everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Actually, this is the Amici's kitchen, but this is almost like home to me. I'm here so much. Speaking of home, I know a lot of you are housebound right now with the virus going on and might be looking for a few things to do. So what better way to pass a little bit of time and enjoyment than cooking? I always feel when I cook, it makes me happy, it's instant gratification, and then once you eat it, you're very happy that you did it. So last week we did an Alfredo sauce, which was like 5 ingredients, and then this week we're going to do a Bolognese sauce, which is almost about 5 ingredients. So these are things that you should already have, maybe at home in your pantry or your refrigerator. And the meat that I chose is a basic one that a lot of people always pretty much have in their refrigerator. Especially now when you go to the store, you can hardly find meat in the refrigerator section. So I want to give a shout out to my family in New York. I love you guys, pray for you, and everybody actually right now going through this virus. But I know we're all going to get through it together. If not, we're going to eat our way through. So the first thing I want to do is get my saute pan hot. So I have a gas stove at the restaurant here, so I'm turning my flame on medium to medium high. And I'm going to get that going. And over here, I already have a small pot of marinara that's heated. This is the one we use at the restaurant, so I have the luxury of just putting some in a pot whenever I need it. Now, on the recipe that I gave you guys here, I know that I did not put marinara sauce, and I apologize. I just gave you the recipe for the meat part of it, but if you want to continue cooking with me today, you will have the meat done, and then at a later time, maybe you can add it to your favorite jarred sauce or a can of tomatoes if you have them home. You can add that in and make a bolognese that way. And then, of course, I have my stock pot going, and I already cooked my pappardelle because I didn't want to take the time today to cook pasta, but instead to focus on the bolognese. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put olive oil and butter in a saute pan. And I like the combination of both of them because the butter adds a little richness to it and a little bit of a different flavor. I use unsalted butter because I like to control the salt in my recipes. Some people don't like salt at all. I wasn't raised with salt. My mom could never have salt in any of her recipes, so I'm very used to not cooking with salt. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mince up our vegetables. And these, I have a carrot. Now I told you 1 large carrot, but my carrot was kind of skinny, so I actually took 2, which equals 1 large carrot. If you have them already in the package, those are even better. They have like a little bite-sized one. They're already peeled, they're already washed. Just get a few of them to equal out what a large carrot would be. So I already went ahead and I chopped the ends off, and I actually peeled them with a peeler like this to get the skin off of them. And then I just discarded that because you really don't want the skin on. It's bitter, it can be dirty. So we took that off. Then I have my celery, and I have my large celery stalk, and I actually have a few of the leaves here because it's my favorite part of the celery, and actually the leaves have the most flavor. And then of course I have my onion. So you might be thinking, well, I don't really know how to cut that well, or I don't really have good knife skills. Well, that's okay because we have a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, then you're gonna have to have some mad knife skills because you need to cut these all so that they are the same size. Otherwise, they won't cook evenly. You may cook them, you might cut them all different, and then when you go to eat your bolognese, you may have a big piece of a carrot that might be hard and a small piece of celery that might be mushy. So consistency is the key here with the vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help the food processor along, and I'm just going to cut these vegetables here, and I'm going to throw them in here, and then I'm going to cut my celery up, and I'm going to put that also in there. And I'm going to make sure I get the leaves here because, like I said, I love the flavor that it gives. It's a bolder. Celery has like a little bit of a licoricey taste, and that's what I love. And then I'm going to put the onion also. Be careful when you cut. I'm just going to chop these up to smaller pieces So this way it helps the food processor along. I'm going to do one more. Alrighty, and this one I'm not crying with. Usually with an onion, I cry terribly. They say the fresher it is, the more you cry. But this one's been in the refrigerator, so. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure I get this top on right. I actually practiced because I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing. All right, and I'm gonna pulse these. And what this is doing is it actually got them all the same size. They're all minced down, they're nice and small, they're going to cook very fast. And what I actually see a bigger piece of carrot here, which we don't want in here. And then we're going to put them over here into our saute pan. Alrighty, I'm gonna hold this blade. There's a sharp blade in here. So now the butter and the olive oil is all blended together, and you can actually hear it start to sizzle, and that's what you want, because you want your vegetables to start cooking right away. Okay, so I'm gonna spread those out. And they're gonna start sauteing. I'm gonna turn my flame up a little bit more because okay. Alrighty, and now I wanna put in a little bit of salt and pepper and the nutmeg I told you guys about. So I'm going to put in a half of a teaspoon of salt. And once you put salt in with any type of vegetable that you're sauteing, it makes it sweat. So what it does is it takes out the liquid from the vegetable and helps it to cook a lot faster. And we want to cook these until the onion is translucent, which basically means see-through. And then I want to put a little pepper in here. So we have that. And then I want to put a little nutmeg in again. I know I put it in the Alfredo one, but I also want to put it in this. Now, nutmeg adds a lot of warmth to dishes. And this is a hearty meal here. So once you learn to taste the nutmeg in it, and it just adds a little bit of a nice warm spice to it. So I have that going. And this is my favorite spatula, actually. I used it in my very first cooking class, and I've had it ever since. And we're gonna cook down these. Okay, I'm gonna take this one out because I don't like the size of it. Like I said, I don't want anybody biting a hard carrot. Now, Bolognese is a dish that originated in Bologna, Italy. That's the northern part of Italy. And up there, they always cook according to their region in Italy. And it's colder up there. It has a lot more different dishes than the southern part of Italy, which has a lot of fruits and seafood. And in the north, there's a lot of hearty meat dishes. They have rabbit there, they have boar, they have a steak up there, a delicious dish. So this dish originated up there. So you can, it smells so good. I actually, of all the things, I smell the nutmeg, and it's beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna let those cook down a little bit more. And for those of you that were cutting your vegetables, I apologize that I'm going ahead of time. I didn't want to take a lot of time with a knife. Now my son's very good with a knife. He could have had that all cut by the time I put it in the food processor. So, as you see, these are cooking down really nice. And while these are cooking a little bit more, I wanted to talk to you about the next step. The next step we're going to put in is the meat. And I've chosen ground chuck because it has a little bit of a higher fatty content, and it's very flavorful meat. But you could definitely put in lamb if you wanted to. You could put in pork if you wanted to. You could even put in veal. So a lot of people had commented on my Facebook, well, where's the different meats? Well, in Amici's, we strictly do beef because we have a lot of customers who don't eat pork. So we want everyone to have an opportunity to taste our dishes, so we strictly do beef. But maybe if I was home, I might change it up and do something else. You could do a lot of different variations. If you wanted to do more heart healthy, you could do a ground turkey bolognese. Or if you wanted to do a vegetarian, you could do a mushroom ragu. So that's just basically, instead of the meat adding it, we would be adding a lot of mushrooms. And it's just as delicious, and it's very good for vegetarians. So my vegetables are cooking down. It takes about 8 minutes for them to get soft enough. Because like I said, you know, you don't want to bite into hard vegetables in there. And a typical ragu or bolognese, same thing. Some people cook it for all day. We don't have that privilege at the moment, and I wanted to do something simple for you guys. Nobody wants to be cooking for 8 hours a day, so we're going to move it along here. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of red wine. Now, this red wine is what we sell here at Mince's. It is from my friend Alessandro's wine company called Impero. It is actually our house Cabernet. It's very, very delicious. It's got a lot of nice robust flavor, a lot of fruit on the back end of it. So my rule of thumb is if you'll drink it, you can cook with it. If you buy a wine that you don't like, then why would you want to cook with it? So also sweet wine is not good for this in here because it will overtake the flavors. And all we want to do is just enhance them right now. So I'm going to add a little bit of red wine into here. I apologize that I don't know the measurement, but I'm going to add that in. It smells good already. And what it does actually, it's deglazing the pan, because as these vegetables cook, little bits of them are sticking to the bottom, and that's actually a lot of the flavor. So by putting the wine in, it takes all those little bits on the bottom and adds them back into the broth here that we're actually making. So good. While this is cooking, it's going to cook a little bit more. I wanted to talk to you about the pasta that we're going to use. Now this is pappardelle. Pappardelle is an egg-based pasta. It actually looks like a ribbon. If you've ever had maybe like a beef stroganoff with an egg noodle, this is basically what it tastes like. And I describe it to my customers when they ask me, it's a velvety ribbon, because the texture is so smooth, and once you put that into your mouth, it just melts. It's absolutely an amazing pasta. Another pasta you might want to use with this would be a rigatoni, because it's bigger and it stands up to it, or fettuccine, which is the flat noodle that we use for Alfredo, or the thinnest one I would use is a spaghetti. So each pasta really goes with its own type of sauce. Like last week we talked about the Alfredo not going very well with angel hair, because these are heavier sauces. So the next thing I want to do, because this is pretty much all cooked down, I can feel with my spatula here that the vegetables are soft already. And by adding the salt to it, that really kind of let them sweat it out, and it's doing well. So the next thing I want to do is add in the beef. So the beef we do, I'm going to just break it up a little bit, but you always want to break it up when it's raw, because if it's cooked, it's very hard to get it down all mashed up. And like I said before, consistency is the key with this dish. You want everything to be the same. And if you're following along, I hope yours is coming, I hope yours looks like this. I hope you're at the same stage that I'm on right now. And I just wanted to tell everybody how grateful I am. I've gotten so much feedback from everybody that I'm kind of excited about it. And being that the restaurant is really quiet right now, it's been a little bit difficult, but doing these actually has excited me again, and I can't wait to see everybody back in the restaurant. All right, so we're going to pour that back in, and I'm going to take my spoon here, and I'm going to continue to mix it all up. All right, I hope everybody's looks like this. I had a lot of people from all over the country actually message me, so I just want to say hi to everybody. I hope everybody's staying well. So this is cooking up really nicely. I got a lot of other suggestions also from people that they wanted me to show you how to cook. One of them is meatballs. Another one is just plain marinara sauce, just like this. A lot of people don't realize like the right tomatoes to use or the right spices and stuff, or they think you have to cook it all day long. They want to know why there's so much acid in there. There's really not that much to it. Cooking is very simple. It's from the heart. Now this is coming along really well. I can smell almost everything that we put into it. I can smell all of the vegetables. And just so you know, the vegetables have a little bit of history with them. We use carrots, celery, and onion because those three flavors marry very well in a lot of different cultures of cooking. Here in America, we call it the Holy Trinity because it's a carrot, a celery, and onion. So whenever you see that in a recipe, that's what that means. In Italian, it's called the buttata. So that would be the same vegetables there. In Spanish cooking, it's called the sofrito. And in French cooking, it's called the mirepoix. So if ever you see those in a recipe, that's what that means. Okay, so our beef is cooking down. And we're just going to wait until the pink goes out of it, which shouldn't be too much longer. For those of you that are following live, if you have any questions, you can ask them on the screen. My daughter is actually the one that's videoing, so she can let me know if anybody needs a shout out or a question. I know a lot of people go to a restaurant and they say, "Can I have spaghetti and meat sauce?" Well, this is what it is now. So now when you go and you order, you realize the work that goes into things and how much time, just like with the Alfredo. I promise you, this is going to be a delicious dish when you are done with it. If you feel that you need to add a little bit more spice, now would be the time while it's still fresh and cooking. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to do it while it's still cooking because it's going to melt into the meat. Again, these are just a couple tablespoons full. However much cheese you want. If you're a cheese lover, then go right ahead and add a lot more. If you're not, you can wait and garnish it on the end. I find that people in America love cheese. That is one of the things that we go through most in the restaurant is cheese. And kids like to call it shaky cheese, even though it's Parmesan. If I told you how good this smells, if you're cooking along, you know how good this smells.
Beverly Hatch said, Larry wants to know if it goes well with your limoncello.
Hi guys, they're all the way in Virginia watching me. They are one of my very first customers and I love them. They always stay in touch with me and support me, and you can tell Larry, yes, it does. We make our own limoncello here, and I think they are my biggest fans of it, and I'm so grateful for them. And if you haven't tried our limoncello, you need to come to the restaurant and try it. It's delicious. We practically give it away after every meal. It's a great after dinner drink. Okay. This is looking really good. We just want to make sure it's cooked through. If you really wanted to, if you're pressed for time, this is the perfect type of Bolognese. If you really want to make it rich and bold, then you would cook this for hours and hours and hours on the stove. And it'll just come together more. And everybody knows Italian cooking is even better the next day because all those flavors have had time to marry together. All right, so I don't see any more pink. I'm pretty much good. If you're following along, I hope you're at the same step. If not, this is going to be posted on my Facebook like the last one is. So if you want to keep up with the sauces, you can look back. And my last one, the Alfredo, was on there also. A lot of people had tried it and sent me videos, and I just thought it was so cool. Okay, now that I'm at this point, I'm actually going to give it a little taste myself because I want to make sure I flavored it enough. I flavored it enough. It's delicious. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of our marinara sauce to this. Now again, like I said, I apologize if I did not put this on the recipe and you do not have it, but at this point you would just continue to cook your bolognese, your meat sauce, and then put it aside, and when you're ready to eat, you could add your favorite jarred sauce to it and just reheat it, and it would be absolutely delicious. The more you cook this down, the better it'll be. So if you cooked it again, when you added the sauce, it would only add to the flavor of it. Very good. Okay, so while this cooks down, I'm gonna add just one more scoop of my big thing of basil here. Okay. I'm going to get some basil here. It's my favorite. It's like a staple in our kitchen here that we are never without. We actually have basil plants out back, and I'm just going to take a couple little pieces here, roll them up, and I'm just going to cut them so I can put them into the sauce. See, little bites that we can put into here. It's only going to add to the flavor. And then what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to get my bowl, and I'm going to get some pappardelle now, the pasta that we already had. If you didn't have pappardelle, I already said you could use something else. So I'm going to put that in my bowl. It's warm because I had it in over the hot steaming pot, so it's still warm enough so that when I put my meat sauce on, my bolognese.
Lucia says, savor some pappardelle.
Lucia, that is your favorite pasta. Every time you come in, this is what she gets. Okay, so this is my pappardelle bolognese, and you would just dress it up with a little extra Parmesan cheese. And I'm actually going to try it. My goodness, it smells so good. I keep ruining my my lunch and my dinner when I do these because I end up eating the whole bowl. So now that I have this big thing here, we are ready to use it for the restaurant later. I'm just going to continue to let it simmer, and then when somebody calls and orders some bolognese, it's ready to go. It's delicious. And I'm not saying that because I made it. It's really an easy recipe. And this pasta is the secret to this. It's absolutely delicious. Now, with this bolognese, you can actually do more things with it. If you have a lot left over and you don't want to use it all for eating it like this, you could put it in a stuffed pepper. That's always good. And you could make lasagna with it. You put it in between the lasagna sheets, and you can use it for that. If you have a lot left over, you can also freeze it in the freezer and have it for the next time. So you see, we made this easy meal. It's delicious. I'm gonna actually pick it back up because I love it, and I want you guys to see how good it is. And actually, it always goes well, even better with the wine that we cooked with. Thank you again for coming into my kitchen. I love this, and I'm so grateful for everyone that's watching. And like I said, stay well and eat well.